Okay.
When you're here for so long.
You're live.
Thank you. That's always professional. Okay, good.
Okay, enjoy.
Thank you. Okay, so welcome everyone to this evening. You have a handout. We have a rough skeleton of what we're going to go through. I just write a few lines empty so people can write down what resonates, either a phrase or something that they think they can do. Then what I have, and we'll do this at the end, is the way that I manage my task list, my task list. So we're going to go through, because we're a nice small crowd, you're absolutely welcome to ask questions. Just try and keep it low, short, and please try not to make it too long so that it's applicable for everybody else. Okay, so what I'm going to do tonight, what I want to do is teach you 6 very, very robust rules. Probably 1 or 2 will really resonate with each of you, and I'm going to try and teach you the science behind it. I'm going to really try and sell it to you, and my job is to sell these different techniques to you. These are techniques that I have found absolutely liberating in my own personal life, and that's why I push them. So the very first principle, and this is a very, very robust principle in terms of what's coming at us. What's coming at us is the 80-20 principle. Is anybody familiar with it? Okay, great. So the 80-20 principle is also known as Pareto's law. Basically, he was an economist in Italy many years ago, and he came up with the rule that 80% of the wealth is owned by 20% of the people. Do you remember the whole 99-1, you know, the 1%, we are the 1%, the whole thing? So he came up with that concept. And being as it was 100 years ago, in the evenings, or the Sundays, he would tend to his garden. And he began to notice that 80% of the flowers were coming from 20% of the plants. So, being a thinker, he thought, 1 second, what is this, that 80%, what is this relationship between 80% and 20%? So he came up with this Pareto's rule, very, very robust. So I'm going to give it to you on a very, very practical level. If you were to go into your closets, 80% of what you wear comes from 20% of what you own. Okay, seasons are different, but in your winter clothes, you can do a challenge. This rule is very robust. As you wear things, as you put them back in the closet, turn them around. And you will see over a month or 2, depending on your own personal habits, that you will wear, most of what you wear comes from 20%. It's robust. So first of all, good news, you can now give away 50% of everything, knowing that you're not even touching the rule. The family makes profit. You know, that's a great thing. It's nice in an office environment to keep things lean and clean, you know that. But what's really great with stuff coming at us, or how we absorb stress, is you can reframe it. 80% of our stress is coming from 20% of our business. So that's genius, because now you know exactly what to focus on. Because we just started. We were schmoozing. We're just on the very first principle. So what's really lovely is that some people think, especially if people have high standards, they think, why am I struggling at all? You know, if I'm a good, you know, fill in the blank, if I'm a good this, everything should be going smoothly. So first of all, what's really nice is you have science behind you, which says you can't, you know, 20% has to be giving you aggravation of some kind. So that's always nice. Then what we do is we really pay attention to that 20%. So when we sit down to get stuff done, rather than worrying about or being concerned about that 100%, we zero in on that 20%. So in your case, for example, it might be that paper that's due, or whatever it is that's the niggle. That's where we invest our energy to make it go away. And then you'll say, well, if you take care of that 20%, then surely it goes. No, we're living, flowing entities, and when the plumbing situation's fixed, then the bookkeeper quits. And that's just the nature. That's a Baruch Hashem for small problems. We always want lots of small problems because that's life. So that's where it flows. So I like it because it's a very, very robust rule. When we get stressed, when we get overwhelmed, rather than feeling that everything's going crazy, everything's out of control, that's not true. I mean, it feels that way because it can feel very overwhelming, but really what it is 20% is out of control, 20% is making me crazy. If I can crack the code on that 20% for this week, then I'm going to be ahead of the curve. Sometimes people come up with really clever systems that work for a long time. It's not like a negative thing where you'll keep doing it and it will keep popping up again. If let's say you're getting tons of phone calls and it's really driving you crazy, you might end up getting a virtual assistant to handle your phone calls. And that annoyance of being interrupted, let's say, goes away forever. So sometimes there are really clever things that go away, and sometimes it's just, what's the 20% of the week? What is it? Let me just label it. And so that's the beauty of the 80-20 in the physical, in the tasks, in our own personal, just the areas that we're not doing great in. With mums at home, I know that you're a robust home owner, but the younger mums, it's the dinners, it's the laundry, it's those things that if there isn't a clever system in place, then things fall. Very often with a 20%, an 80-20, it's about creating a clever system. And what I love to say is this system is the solution. Very often when we're running haphazardly, it's not that we're lazy, it's not that we haven't thought about it, it's just that there isn't a clever system in place. And if you look at any smooth running entity, think of a coffee shop, for example. It's a simple flow. You go in, you buy the coffee, you walk out. It flows. Yes, all of our lives are much more complicated than a coffee store. But ideally, systemize your life enough that things just flow. Think of the old balabustas type. Hanukkah comes around, we're thinking menorahs, they're thinking Erev Pesach. It's just like an innate way. So in some areas, we have this innate, it works. Some people dress really nicely, some people makeup's not a big deal, some people bookkeeping's just not a big deal. Some people can just whip things together. Other things just are more difficult. So what do we do with that 20%? If it's us-centric, then it means we have to focus. It would be lovely if somebody could do reading for us and just email us the cliff notes, which could be done with a virtual assistant, but I'm just saying it's not the same absorption. But sometimes it's about outsourcing a task. Ideally in our businesses, and this goes back to Michael Gerber's book on the E-Myth, we should be doing what we love or what we're good at. We don't want to get rid of the stuff that we love, because when we do stuff that we love, it's really enjoyable. It's really, really enjoyable. In today's day and age, we can outsource so much. And I always tell people, outsource what you don't like. Why would you outsource stuff that you enjoy? Life isn't about just checking things off your list. That's so dry. You want to enjoy what you do, outsource what you don't like. Some people might not be good, let's say, at email management. They're not good at it, but they enjoy it. So find a system to be, what's that 20% that you're not so good at? Or get rid of it altogether and outsource it. But it takes a bit of time sometimes to crack that code. Is it that I don't have time? Is it that I don't like it? Is it I don't have a system? It's easier when things are precise. But that's the beauty of the 80-20. You're not crazy, you're not inefficient, you're not lazy. It doesn't flow that we're good at everything. It doesn't, especially in the creative fields, it's really hard to have the boring back end when we're so hands-on. Yes?
How do you crack the code? Are you going to talk about that?
No, I can do it. I mean, remember you're being recorded, so I don't want you to get too personal. But yes, cracking the code, you first of all, sometimes just identifying something makes it easier. Okay, because our brain is conditioned like everything's, like I said, everything's out of control. This is terrible. Okay, let's crystallize it. What's the 20% that's making me overwhelmed right now? And let's say you're studying.
The exams that I have to.
Okay, fine. You have an exam. So what you might want to say is, okay, sometimes you can ask yourself the future question. I like doing that because it kind of circumnavigates all of our defects. We say, okay, I took the exam, I passed the exam. What did I do that made it work? Okay, and you'd be like, nothing, never going to pass. Okay, try again. You took the exam, you did really well. What worked? And you're like, well, I guess on Sundays I took 2 hours. Okay, you've got the answer.
So you assume that it happened already.
Right,
you go back and you say, how did I do it?
Yeah, what was the magic wand? What did I do?
I love that.
Great, I'm so happy. I love it when my analogies work, because sometimes I'm like, that doesn't work.
No,
that does not resonate.
No, there's a certain technique in therapy that is very powerful, that is very similar to that.
I have 2 masters in psychology, so I could get all that together. So that is the question, because then you're already putting yourself in the, I did it, then how did I do it? Sometimes we have really clever solutions inside. They're just kind of in the back of the closet under all the clutter, so it's hard to pull them out. So by asking that to yourself, and then where you might say, but I really, really don't want to do it. Okay, so how about this? If you do Sundays 10 to 12, 9 to 12, how about you have a coffee date with a really nice friend afterwards? And let her come past your house at 9 and take your phone. Like meet her at 12 for coffee and phone retrieval. And it's going to be horrible. You're going to feel disgusting. You're going to hate it. But at the end, did it. Also remember, as mums and business owners, we really have so much coming at us. It's very hard to have a relationship with our future self because we're so busy just trying to get through the here and now. So you having a relationship with yourself as someone who's passed that exam is really wholesome. It's very uplifting. It's very empowering. So that's what I would say is ask yourself the future question. Any other questions on the 80-20 to personalize? And also you can ask questions out of order. Like sometimes I'm going on to the next thing and then it's funny, like as I'm doing Parkinson's paradox, people are like, oh, I have a question about 80-20. Like it's okay if you process like that. It's completely fine. We're a small enough crowd, doesn't matter. Okay, so then comes a wonderful, wonderful concept that I love called Parkinson's paradox. And that is the belief, and it's so true, that a task will expand to the time allotted. Okay, so let's say you have a really big, trying to think of something else. You're going to be moving offices. Okay, that's not a good example actually because that you need a space. Okay, let's do you have to write a book.
It's like,
yeah, give me an example.
It's like getting ready for Shabbos. Like,
exactly. we'll go back to that. Beautiful. I think in my book actually I do fine. So whether Shabbos comes in at 3 o'clock in the afternoon or 11 o'clock at night, we're always racing at the last minute. Now, is this like Jewish woman craziness or is this something bigger than us? It's Parkinson's paradox. It just expands. Another example is taxes. Not taxes, filing taxes. Filing taxes. Why do we see so many people rushing at the last minute? You know this. This is a robust rule. It's every April 15th and it has been forever. There's no surprises. It's not a surprise tax. It's there. But again, we push off. Or packing. Packing to travel. You bought the tickets 2 months ago. It's no surprises. No, it wasn't a surprise cruise, unfortunately. You knew about this. This is not a surprise. But yet, and it's funny, next time you go to the airport, look around. Everyone's so miserable. And I'm thinking, guys, everyone's going somewhere fun. You're traveling.
But that's because we have to go through
security. Even before TSA.
I don't mind travel. I hate checking in.
Hold on. Why don't you get TSA pre-check?
Because TSA pre-check now is longer lines, which I have.
Oh, you have TSA pre-check.
Yes,
Good.
and TSA pre-check is a longer
No.
line than the regular.
Yeah.
Time to get clear.
Because everyone went to
Because
TSA
everyone,
project.
it's like the ATM. The longer line is at the ATM rather than the teller.
No, it's true. It's true. So the packing, it's the same thing. 1 year, I listened to myself, and I packed to go visit my parents 2 weeks early. Okay? And then what I did that was so amazing is that I was like, okay, I'm actually going to be coming back to this house after the vacation. So now let me do some stuff ready for the person who's going to walk in. You know, we're so busy thinking about going away, we don't think about coming back. You know, it's just about the going away. And it was remarkable. It was truly liberating. That was about 3 years ago, and I've never learned it since.
Because I can only imagine packing the suitcase 2 weeks in advance, and then the day before, the day did I take this? Did I take that?
Right,
Wow.
you have to have a
So
you have to have a
Oh,
list.
that's
You
really
have
fun.
to have a
What
list.
you didn't
But it's so liberating to separate the packing and the travel. Truly, truly liberating. Okay, so now we know that there's always going to be the last minute, the magic of the imminent deadline, right? So some people, especially if you're creative, you love that last minute deadline. Could you imagine if we went to great artists and composers and were like, listen, you need to give this in way ahead. It's not going to work, okay? So no one says that leveraging the last minute's bad. However, if it causes you stress, then we need to pay attention. Why? Because stress isn't healthy. Stress takes us away from us, and stress makes us kooky around everybody, right? So you can have some stress before your exam. You're not going to be like just whistling down Kingston Avenue. It's not human, but hopefully you'll be, you know, much less stressed than you thought you would be. So the idea is, in life, you can't take away deadlines, but give yourself false deadlines. So let's say taxes are being filed April 15th. You have an alarm for the 1st of February. You file your taxes and you meet your friend for brunch. It's perfect. And then you just spend 2 months gloating. You know, you would have spent 2 months like pushing it off and looking for papers. Now you're just done early. And you just avoided stress in that area. Will stress find you? Of course it will try and find you. That's life, okay? But in the areas that we can make stress go away, well, why not? So you might say, okay, I'm going to file my taxes early, I'm going to prepare Shabbos on a Wednesday, and I'm going to pack 2 weeks early. Does that mean that I never have to worry about Parkinson's paradox again? And I'll say, again, see where your stress is and give yourself a false deadline. Why not?
But how do you meet the false deadline actually?
Okay, so
it's
you
false. It's
right.
false.
Okay, so you are head faking yourself. You are, okay? But sometimes you can do it. I'm finishing off my second master's degree, so I have assignments due every Wednesday. So on my calendar, it's like assignment due Monday. So in my head, I'll get it done by Tuesday, but there's no stress involved. So don't be so smart in that area. You know, like back things up, and don't be like, but it's not true. It's trying to save you from yourself. You know, or what you can say is, if you're really resisting it, you can say, oh, I know it's not due till Wednesday, it's Monday, and I'm so in love with Monday, I don't want to even know my Wednesday self. But you know what? I'll just set my timer for 20 minutes and start. Even that's going to help. And normally, once we start something, like chocolate cake, we just, you know, finish
Not
it.
with things you don't want to do.
Okay, so then you might want to set your timer to, I'm just going to do 20 minutes. Yes.
Sometimes people don't start focusing until they're kind of stressed.
That's a really interesting concept. I get what you're saying. It's like that adrenaline mixed with the toxicity of the right. Right, like maybe highly creative people, it doesn't work. We pay attention to things that get in the way of day-to-day living. So if you have an exam and it's once in your life and you're going to be stressed for 2 weeks before, okay, you've done your, you know what I'm saying? That's the magic potion that's going to make the information stick. How else can we do it? You can back things up so you've got less, so it's manageable. I don't know what to do with that formula because I don't want to take away from someone's.
That's how they operate. They just have to wait till the last minute. They just don't know how to do it any other way.
Okay, so is it that they don't know how to do it any other way, or is it that that's how they operate? And I think that's like a chicken and the egg thing. So, but if it's your children, you want to teach them you want to teach them these skills, because life is only going to get more chaotic in terms of the interruptions coming at us and our attention span. So I would challenge yourself. I'm just responsible for 6 people in the room. So I would challenge yourself in any area where you love that last minute panic, at least bring it back a bit, because then it's actually more enjoyable. Then you're like, okay, I have 1/5 left to do that I really have to focus on. I have 2 weeks, you know what, it's not going to be fun, but it's manageable. I think it's difficult when it's too much, like it is too much. You know, that's I think when there's stress. You know, there's eustress, like EU stress, and there's bad stress. Maybe the goal then is to take away 80% of it, so that you're just left with the good stuff for that last 20 minutes. That last zone is just 20% that you're carrying. So it's not that you're cooking everything on a Friday, you're just doing the sponge cake that you love. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like we're trying to make people boring. Like, if everything's not done by Wednesday, that's terrible. It's like, do the 80% by Thursday and just do something you enjoy on Friday. I love making fresh challah. It's so enjoyable when it's just fresh challah I'm making, not an entire Shabbos. You know, and it's so nice for the kids, and it's so lovely. Everything else doesn't have, yes, I like to cook the chicken on Friday, so I'll marinate it Thursday, but by backing up so much stuff, you can enjoy it. Or with packing. Pack your suitcase. It's going to get crinkled anyway. Write your list and pack your hand luggage the day you travel. Like, make it doable so that you can do that adrenaline meets focus, meets a bit of panic. You know, it's like a special chemistry, and it's doable.
I think part of it is working out the right supplement that will also help you focus. I just think that there's that part.
Better life through chemistry. I'm all for it. Go for it. Okay, so we've got 2 principles under our belt. We're doing really well. And now we're going into another area, which is the decision-free mindset. Now, there's a researcher called Dr. Barry Schwartz who's done really good research on decision-making and anxiety and depression. And he came up with something that I thought was very, very interesting, that the more decisions we have, the more overwhelmed and depressed and anxious we get. And he did research. And what he basically said is that if you go into a store and you have 80 different types of detergent, and Crown Heights is different, but imagine yourself in Target, okay? You're buying detergent, and you're standing there, and you're looking. You really don't know which one to buy, because there's so many, and they've all got such pretty boxes, and what do I get? What his research showed is that the time you invest standing there, finding out what one, how much this one costs and this one smells, let's say you invest 14 minutes in detergent, okay? Then you turn the corner and you go to buy olive oil. Except there's not one bottle of olive oil, there's 40, and you stand there. And by the time you check out and you've done that with a bunch of items, first of all, it's very exhausting, physically and mentally. But when you take those items home, after investing so much time in them,
You don't want to use them.
you either don't want to use them, or when you use them, you really expect them to be life-changing. So you wash your clothes and you're like, okay, this shirt's going to come out amazing because I spent a lot of time. And it's a shirt that comes out of the wash. So who do we blame? Me. I'm the fool. And the olive oil that you put in the salad, this salad's going to be amazing. It's olive oil. So what he says is, the less decisions, the more happiness. So, what does that mean? It means in as many areas as you can in your life, don't make decisions. And I'm being really serious. There are some people, especially people with high IQ and perfectionistic standards, I tell them 2 decisions a week. Like 2 decisions a week, because the decision that itself really, really weighs on them. Am I confusing you? Maybe you just maybe
Yeah,
you
because
just
you have to make decisions about things.
right, 1 or 2 a week, but people can't be doing olive oil, detergent, it can't be, everything can't be on that level of really, really important. You know, shidduchim, that's big stuff. You know, buying a home, massive. Hiring an employee, big stuff. But like, don't sweat the small stuff. Everything else should be pass fail. Give me 2 choices. You know, I sometimes think, like, in restaurants, they could make like an area, like a no decision zone. Like, it's like, what's your fish? What's your chicken? You know, because sometimes we're just done. So if you're sensitive to decision making, of course, decisions are going to go hunting for us. But at least you know, when I go shopping for detergent, it's Tide or the one that's the store brand. Done. Forever. You know, it's done. Meaning, at least, you're right, decisions are going to come at us. So at least save your decision-making account for the real stuff. Prioritize. Remember, prioritizing is not easy for some people.
I know. Especially with home decorating. We did our house recently, and someone was asking me, how did you decide on tiles and that? I know who I was talking to, and some people just cannot. At some point, you have to realize, I like the gray, I like the wood look, I like this, I like that, and it's endless. And you're shopping
endless.
and you're.
Some people really can't make this, and even if they would have all the money to make a whole renovation, they would still say, you know what, whenever I walk into that room, I regret not getting blue. And that's so sad, because that's our persona, that's who we bring to the world, that's who we have to hang out with, you know? So to understand that to make your businesses, make your lives as decision-free as possible. Now, you don't want to become boring. You know, you don't want to become to the point, but it's okay to kind of live in a zip code of boring, where there's less spontaneity and fun, because otherwise it's exhausting. You know the detergent, you know this, you know that, like, it's just like, pre-decide as much as possible. Or just be like, if you're buying toothpaste, just pick it off the shelf.
It's very powerful what you're saying, because you're learning to bank your energy.
Absolutely.
And that's what we need.
And we've been given the notion, you know, I remember when I used to come from England, you know, in England things are more, it's a little antiquated, and like when we were growing up there were like 3 cereals. You know, it was like that, but it wasn't bad. Like, I never had like, till I came to America, I remember, and I wish I had like a photo of myself just like in the cereal aisle. It was as long as this whole wall.
It was rice bubbles.
It was rice bubbles and brown flakes. That's it. And I was just, and it was like, I looked at the aisle of the cereals and I was like, these Americans know how to live. You know? And there I am, and then I moved here. Maybe it was a cereal aisle. But it's like, wow, this is life. This is living. You know, except it's everywhere and it's everything. And now with our phones, do I answer? Do I not answer? Do I text back? Do I not text back? Do I check my WhatsApp? It's a lot. So again, we don't want to become robots living in a museum, but it would be nice where we can identify the areas that we can't afford the decision. Every decision, let's say, is $20. Okay? Shidduchim, yes, that's worth $20. You know, you're buying a coffee that you love versus fine. But everything else, it doesn't matter. If you have to decide, make it down to 2. Okay, you're buying pens for the office on Amazon, and you're like, black, blue, purple, green, red, you know, blue or black. You know, just make it down to 2. It's much easier to choose from 2. That's what I do with myself, because otherwise you can get lost in the world of purple pens, which is fine if that's all you have to do. But if you have a lot of stuff on your list, it's not the time to have the what ifs. But so here's the beautiful thing. Look at number 4. This is the really good chemistry. What if in our lives and in our businesses we applied the 80-20? Okay, so now we know that there's always going to be 20% coming at us that needs our attention. Then what if we combine that with Parkinson's paradox, which means I really have to decide and I'm not going to let this linger and fester. I'm going to do, it's really due on the 1st of the month, but I'm going to do it for the 15th of the month before. Then we combine it with a decision-free mindset of I'm really going to try and do this within 2 decisions or 3 decisions. A choice of 2 or 3 decisions rather than everything. So let's get a practical example. Does somebody want to give me an example of something that, a case study where this could apply, or any issue where we could take the issue, bring the timeline in, and make it a much simpler decision. I can do something if we haven't got like an idea, because it's not so applied, but we can, yes.
I don't know, I think this might help everybody, so it might be self-care first thing in the morning.
But not everyone does self-care in the morning. Some people like getting out and doing self-care in the evening. Done. I'm going to do this. Well, if we put the 80-20 rule in, 80% of us will do it in the morning and 20% will do it in the evening. The 80-20 rule is so robust. You can feast off it. It's very, very strong. Okay, self-care in the morning, okay? Well, 80-20, we're on number 4. 80-20, you've already identified the issue. So check, okay? Boom. And it doesn't have to take long. 80-20, it doesn't have to be like, you have to ponder for days. Boom, I want to take care of myself in the morning.
But, okay, to me, I already kind of get to a roadblock and I go, oh, but if I start in the morning, I have to go to sleep on time at night. So
that's a whole other thing. Fine. Okay, 80-20. 80-20, what's my issue? I want to have time for myself in the morning. Parkinson's paradox. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be about... Okay, so Parkinson's paradox can either apply it can apply to solving the problem or applying acting out the solution. So Parkinson's paradox might be, I really want time for myself in the morning. I'm going to think about that this month, okay? Or you can say, I want to take time for myself in the morning. I'm going to take care of this today. I'm going to crack the code today. You know what I'm saying? You've given yourself a false deadline. So the false deadline can be about the item or about thinking about the item. It's both. Then you're going to say decision-free mindset. Do I do 7 o'clock? Do I do 8 o'clock? Do I 9 o'clock? Then you ask yourself, where has it worked before? Evidence-based. Where I remember I did it for a whole month and it was at 8 o'clock. Boom, you've got your 8 o'clock. Do I do yoga? Do I do this? Keep giving yourself 2 choices, and then write it down. Okay? And that's it. It's policy. Okay? In the business world, that is policy. It's in effect as of now. And then you take a post-it note, you stick it up on a counter somewhere, and that's it. Then you work backwards and say, oh no, now I have to go to sleep before midnight. That's your preparing. And then that's it, it's policy. You're not a robot. It might not work at all because you forgot that your neighbor next door has drum practice at 8 o'clock in the morning, right when you want your
this course. That's
right, whatever it is. So I'm saying, so it's not like, well, that failed. It's like, okay, we'll tweak the system. But it's that mindset. It's less out there and it's more compact. It's simpler. It's much easier when you give yourself less choices because it's very overwhelming when it's everything always. It's so hard. And you were saying that about returning calls and this. And I think now with WhatsApp's so sneaky because it's not text messages, it's not emails, it's just a thing. But we're all addicted to it. Do you remember 3 months ago, WhatsApp went down for 4 hours and the whole world was like, take out traffic lights, take out electricity, don't take out WhatsApp. So I would say, and I'm guilty of it, but I would say WhatsApp in the evenings on your couch for 20 minutes. It's email. It's just email packaged in a pretty packaging, but you'll say, I can't, I'm running a business, and it's not, but it's that area of what's bothering me. I need to come up with a solution. I need to make it simple. Sometimes what we do is we create more complications, and we see this with children when we ask them to do something. But I need my orange marker, but I need this, but I need that. It's a very educated way to procrastinate. And rein yourself back and be like, for today, we're just going to do it between two choices. I will bring that back. But it really, really works. And then what you're doing is you're saving that decision making account. Really saving it. You're not spending. It's exhausting. When I go and help people organize their homes, by the end they're exhausted. They say, I'm surprised it was so exhausting. This made you make about 1,000 decisions. Decision making is exhausting, and it's a different world. The world isn't simple anymore. I always think back to 30 years ago where things just had a natural rhythm and a flow, and it was easier. Now it's so us-centric, it's so much to be thought about. So when you have systems in place, Cyril, I'm sure you've got a robust dinner plan in place and a Shabbos menu. I'm sure you're not it's Wednesday.
Just before I left.
There you go. I'm sure you're not, it's Wednesday, let me ponder. It's Wednesday.
It's Wednesday shop, Thursday cook,
Beautiful.
Friday finish off.
Beautiful. Savekah's in our time. Perfect. That's what I want for everyone. Friday finish off. I'm just going to do, I'm just going to patchki. It's fun. It's enjoyable. That's what we want. It's not, So that's the vision and the dream of all of these things. What's the area that I need to work on? I need to make a decision soon. I'm going to make it simple. The other thing you can do is, with your decision making, is you can ask friends. So we all have friends that think differently than us. Some think in a more holistic way, some are more Gvoridic, or some are more... you could also ask an opinion, but you don't want to ask 12 opinions. It's you can outsource the decision making too. You're still looking on Amazon at the pens. Okay, I'm really exaggerating this one. But it's to your friend, decide for me, blue or black. Outsource the decision making. Done.
And accept the decision.
And then let go of the
That's
results. That's the hard part. But there's also liberation in that.
So would you speak a little bit to almost the psychology that's going on, the inner conversation of making that choice? We're obviously struggling with making one choice and letting go of the other, and why are we attached to that?
That is right. Why? If we're in the cereal aisle, why is it so painful not to go home with all of them? And I think that we are in an age of I can have it all. I don't. When I grew up in England, it was a much different society, for better or for worse. It was just more simple, contained, predictable. Now we've got grandchildren teaching grandparents how to use the iPhone. We've got children WhatsApping their friends after school. It's such a different time that, you can be anything. That's lovely, but it's also dizzying. So I think what we need to do is also, what we need to embrace is good enough decision making. Leave the perfectionism to the other 20%. But for 80%, it's good enough. Cocoa Pebbles, Frosty Flakes, the names are amazing, but that's a different discussion. Which one? This is a good enough decision. Am I going to WhatsApp my clients at 6 or at 7? Am I going to do this? Good enough decision making. Back to the pens. Blue, I don't want to ask my friends what colour pens. It's good enough.
I think it's important because I think as Jews we tend to be perfectionistic.
Is Jews perfectionistic?
Yeah,
Do you think that?
I don't know, maybe it's just...
You deal with a lot of Holocaust survivors, so you see a lot of trauma. Maybe
Mhm.
that's where it comes in.
Maybe.
I don't see the Jewish people as a whole. I see humanity has subsets, but I don't know. I think it's the FOMO. It's we're so curious. Remember, things like the internet, looking up certain things, all that information. We've got so much information.
Yeah, but I also feel there's a certain, in certain areas it's easier to clarify for one. I'll speak for myself.
Yeah,
in certain areas that it's easier to be that is good enough. Make peace with the fact that something is good enough versus having a high standard of no, like I expect it to be here. So yeah, in the cereal aisle, I could just let that go, but
Right.
in more key places, it's like, no, I want to perform at the highest standard. So it can trickle into various decisions, which can
Yes.
become like endless
Yes.
in coming to the final conclusion.
Right. So that's what you, right, so you might just be a high achiever, which is phenomenal, you know, and that's something to celebrate, but you don't want to trip over yourself. So what does that mean? It means take the 20% that really means a lot to you, identify it, and then create systems for it, and stick to the system. So you love information, you love education, you could study all day, I'm just hypothesizing, and you're like, but I have to have clients. Okay, Tuesday's my day, but any free time, I'm going to study. When Tuesday's over, it's over. During the week, if a thought comes to my mind, I'm going to write it down on a website, or I'm going to write it all down. Tuesday, any free time is education time. And then liberation is 6 days a week, you're not doing it. Now, if you want to, it's fun. It's not fear-based. It's fun. You're on the couch, you're like, you know what, I'll look at that again. That's different.
Okay.
But in terms of budgeting your time and your headspace, restrict it. You know, that's another way you can put Parkinson's paradox to your own use. It's just Tuesdays. It's just Tuesdays. I have a thing on Wednesdays. I just try and take it a bit easier. I try and make my Wednesdays less heavy. So no appointments, no clients. Things come in, but I know I can lean on Wednesday as more of an empty day. You know, everybody wants something different. Before I cracked that code, I was like, but when? But how? But I wanted it.
Right.
You know, so in certain areas you need support, because if you're left to your own devices, you're going to trip up over yourself. I would do that maybe per day. Like it's a theme. Oh, it's not Tuesday. Because then you can't argue with it. Because if it's 2 o'clock every day, oh, but I wasn't looking at my watch, I never realized, oh, but I need to go out then. Tuesday. It's all day Tuesday. Any day you have, any moments you have, that's what it's for. Tuesday's over, boom. Because then you can't argue with yourself. We do argue. But I think there's something to be celebrated about high standards, but you also want to combine that with knowing yourself. And knowing that it's never going to be enough. We can never learn enough. We can never do enough. But what's okay? Because also I think it's really important to have like a full circle. You know, I woke up in the morning, I took time for myself, I studied, I did. I'm closing now. I'm off. I'm done. You know, before that, just this full, I think of seasons, it's so much Nietzsche about circles and cycles. I think it's so important. I squeezed everything out of the day, or I squeezed some of it out, or I didn't have such a good day, but I meant to, or whatever it is, it's over. And now I'm going to go reboot, rejuvenate, ready for tomorrow. Otherwise, it's like, oh, but I really need to, and oh, I really should have, and it's like we go to sleep, we can end our day on that kind of, you know, I'm less than. You know, of course we always want to grow, but we want to go to sleep that feeling of like Yagaiti or Matsase, you know? Which is a nice cycle on the starting the day with mindfulness and ending, but that's the thing. So I really would limit, you know, any areas, limit the decision making, but do it so it's sensible, so you can't undo it.
It's workable.
It's workable for you. And what's so funny is that what's completely workable for somebody else would wreak chaos in your life if it was you. You know? It's like how everyone's wardrobe's different, maybe one or two things in common, but really everyone's work style and thinking style and thought pattern and decision making. And I think in Dr. Schwartz's book, he even says there's a maximizer and a sufficer. A maximizer wants to maximize everything, and a sufficer is good enough. And what's the magic? The magic is knowing yourself and understanding ways to say this is good enough. I don't have to do this perfectly. Some people, I was working with a surgeon once, and I said, isn't that just a simple decision? You know, I was helping him organize something. He said, I don't have any simple decisions. You know, and I actually had to teach him how something doesn't matter, especially with like throwing stuff away. You can find it all online, you know. But it's like when you're a maximizer, you'll do well, you'll have high standards, but you don't want those high standards to trip you up. Okay, so then we're going to revisit the whole beauty of systems. And systems are going to set us free. Why? Because we don't have to think. Right? That's really what we want to do, is have 80% of our businesses on autopilot, and then 20% need us. That's good. That's the part that we want to bring. We don't want to kind of get it bare bones, that it's just this dull, automated thing. You want it to be living, but you want a lot of systems in place to support you. The system does not have to be complicated. My favorite system is at Costco, where it says members and carts, like on either side of the checkout. You know, and I'm so sure there was so much confusion before, like, man, you're on the wrong side, you know, and they were seeing that it really slowed down all the efficiency till they made a sign, members, carts. They probably saved billions of dollars over the years of efficiency, just not having that confusion. It doesn't have to be confusing, it doesn't have to be complicated. Traffic lights as well. Very, very simple system. So what we do, where do we need systems? Okay. Number one rule, we don't change systems that are working. Okay? So if you're thinking now, maybe I'm doing it wrong, maybe I should no. If a system's working, you leave it. But then what you can do is, in an area where you have a sensible system, think how else you can copy that. And I'm going to do some more applied examples. Another thing you might want to consider is the next time you make a mistake, because you will, because you're human, ask yourself, okay, I just made a mistake. I can use that energy to like kick myself because I'm mad, or I can use the energy to make a system. And then you would use that same concept of, I did it differently, what happened? Okay, so very simple one. I keep pencils in my car, in my door, so when I drop the kids at school, I give them a pencil. It's a really simple system that started years ago when one of my kids was hysterical that he didn't have pencils. And I tried, put mini backpack, responsibility, you know, all future self, all that. Then I realized, just give the kids pencils in the morning, like, who cares? You know, like, we're not destroying any, it's fine. So there are pencils always and forever in my car. It came out of something probably 15 years ago, you know? So it's just looking at areas that need support. Creating systems, but don't make them complicated. You know, very rarely are you going to be able to have it Costco style, where it's members to the left, you know, carts to the right, but that's a good goal. So, you know, it comes back to that same decision making. It's two choices. What systems can you make? Where's that 20% that needs a good system? You know, we live in Florida, and I remember, again, it was like 10 years ago, so upset because you start driving in one place in Florida and you drive to the other area and it's pouring with rain. And I was like, oh, why didn't I check the weather? I'm never going to check the weather in the morning, so I'm trying to get children out of the house feeling loved. There's no checking nothing. So what did I do? I just began keeping like the little rain things in the back of the car. Done. You know what I'm saying? It's not rocket science. It's really not. But it came out of this frustration of like, why can't I remember just to check the weather in the morning? What's so complicated? Okay, checking the weather isn't complicated. Your life is complicated. You're not going to remember. So what areas, you know, do we, you know, I remember going to a restaurant. My parents went to a restaurant. There were no cups. How do you, like, it was like paper, there was takeout, it was busy season. There were no cups. You have no cups in the restaurant. Okay, no one's evil, no one's bad. I'm sure somebody quit. But a system should be robustly enough in place that even if your head chef and your sous chef, you know, and everyone, you know, resign on the same day, there are still cups. You kind of want that mentality of what's the area that needs a system in place. Now, just think of shopping, for example. Shopping itself, just supplies for the business, supplies for the home. That can all be automated now with Amazon Subscribe and Save or deliveries from the local stores. That can be brainless. And actually, no one ever need to worry about detergent because they can order it, subscribe and save money, and it's coming on the first of the month forever. You know, so those, you know, it is, even though we're living in a time with so much coming at us, we do also have the advantage. You know, we have the annoyance of technology and we have the advantage where you shouldn't be buying paper goods, you shouldn't be running around buying stuff for the business. It should be arriving, you know, and you know, automating bills or whatever it is. These things, that any time you take investing in a system will pay off exponentially as long as it's a smart system. You know, you don't want to do a silly system. For example, at one time I found that Target had cheaper Ziploc bags, so I set up a system, but I did it to an old bank account, and I ended up bouncing to buy like $4 Ziploc bags, and I was like, that is such an example of an inefficient system. You know, that those Ziploc bags now just cost me 10 times as much, you know. So not all systems will be efficient. You have to make sure it's sensible and simple. I'd love some practical examples of simple decisions that people might want to discuss. Any areas that people need some simple decisions?
I mean, I was just amazed. I went to Empire Kosher and the internet's been down in Crown Heights.
Yes.
You've got
It
Optimum.
wasn't just me.
So there's Optimum and Verizon. Optimum was down, Verizon was okay. So I went to Empire Kosher and he said, we're fine. And I go, how come? He goes, because we had this problem years ago and they decided that they were going to have 2 providers.
How clever. How
So they have
clever.
Optimum and
How
Verizon. So if one
clever.
goes, they've got the other one as a backup.
Very
And
clever.
they said it's just not worth it to have this problem again.
I love it. It's just not worth it to have this problem again. That's the mantra we want to walk away with when we make our next mistake. It's just not worth having this again. Or something that comes up again and again. I need to take the time to make a system. You know, and sometimes it's silly stuff, and then what we do, we're so tough on ourselves. Oh, that was so simple. Why did it take me so long to get to it?
But yeah, they said, I think even, I don't know if it's even financial, because I don't know how much extra it's costing them, but the stress level is so high.
Who wants that? Right, and
Yeah,
that's
it
another
is.
really good point. Financial stress. It's hard to always label. Well, this is going to be worth $79, and this stress is worth this. It's that's the hard part. It's not absolute. There isn't a manual of like, you know, but we all can create our own manuals of our lives and of our areas of stress. It's
But
not worth it.
Sometimes somebody will take something and I go, I wonder if they're going to bring it back. And I go, it's only worth $5. And I go, yeah, but to replace it, it's going to take me a lot of time. So I go, it's not just the cost. It's when I want it, it's not there,
Yeah.
and to replace it, and I have to go. I don't know, whatever it is, but
Yeah.
there's
It,
still a
it's not, it's absolutely not simple, but that's right. That is the perfect example. It's just not worth it.
Mhm.
So when something niggles us, it's probably because we know it could be done sensibly. We just don't know how. But that's because we're busy. See, what I was doing for a while is I made a set time each week, and I actually did it to think about which systems in my home I wanted to work on. Because people can come up with systems. It's not rocket science. It's just kind of taking away all that noise and being like, oh my gosh, my children's socks. I'm losing hundreds of dollars a year. So, you know, I'm going to order those sock blocks. Took me 4 minutes, meeting over. Saved $500. Boom. You know? But again, not everything is so obvious and so simple. And that's a very, very easy decision. But there are some simpler decisions on what we're not doing sensibly. So that's what makes it bulletproof. And then I want to go on to, well, first of all, I think we should stop for any questions because we're going into a different area. Anything I can help apply.
I'd love to hear more of your personal business systems.
My personal business systems. Okay. So my personal business systems. First of all, I have a virtual assistant, which is completely life-changing, and I wish that every person, business or mother, everything, had that. and I literally leave voice notes. Thank God for voice notes, okay? Just the whole time. I have a virtual assistant. It's completely life-changing, because what do we want to do? We want to create more time. We want to create more of us. It's really, really hard. So by having people do the stuff that doesn't need our personal fingerprint on, we can do that. So even just before, I was with a client and they wanted another session, and I was like, oh my gosh, by the time I get home tonight, I'm going to forget to, Rena, could you please let me know when it's done? I'm sure I've got a text now that it's done. I use a virtual assistant. That's amazing. I am not tied to my phone. I'm not tied to my phone. I'm a very big user of Parkinson's paradox. I back everything up in terms of deadlines. Because I don't like stress. I truly detest stress. I don't like what it does to my body. I don't like what it makes me be like. So I always back things up. Like the minute I knew that I was giving this talk, I right away took care of the handout. If you can't take care of the whole thing, at least start it. Sometimes there's something that we have to take care of, and I know this myself. I'll push it off, but I'm still carrying it. So it's better if I do 20 minutes to start it, and then when I get around to it later, I don't have to start from scratch. I've already got a couple of things. Another thing I do, tons, is I use my timer on my phone. Now it's like, Siri, set a timer for 20 minutes. I use it all the time, because sometimes I only can invest 20 minutes in something. I don't have email on my phone. I don't listen to my answering machine, but you have to for your business. What else?
If I had a virtual assistant, they'd listen to your business.
I have two different people that I use, and they're both have extra time available. They're really solid people. I think a virtual, if everyone should have one. Truly.
And you use them for personal and business.
Yeah, she bills me separately, but yeah, it's I would even like to do more. It's hard to give things over if you don't know and trust the person. The funny thing is, my virtual assistant, who I love and adore, I've never met her. She's a from woman who lives in Toronto. Never met her. First of all, she knows everything. She has like every password and everything.
Right.
Even before, I was like, Rena, could you just log check in? I was like, it kind of gives me a kick. I'm like, can you hack into my email and check in for my kids for tomorrow's flight? Oh, and can you add their American Airlines miles number that you set up for them? One thing I want to start doing is I want to use a travel agent. I'm completely done with booking tickets. I think that we all now, listen, thank God we travel. It takes at least 45 minutes to book a ticket. Don't anyone think it takes 12 minutes, because that's an amazing lesson in decision making. If you want to book a trip to come visit me in Florida, and you want to book that for 3 months from now, the tickets are fine. You decide a week ahead you want to live in the moment, 6 times the price. The airline industry is built on our inability to make decisions. Yes, of course, sometimes it's last minute.
That's the system that works for
It's not making a decision. It's like, we could get away next week.
That's
Whereas 4 months ago, you didn't know that you could
fine.
get away then.
You're
So it's not
correct, but
necessarily-
that is 20% of the tickets that I bought. I bet you there's data. 80% is I know we're going away for Pesach. I just can't deal with booking tickets. I'm not going to Pesach. I wish. I'm just saying there's a lot of we need to travel for so and so's birthday. A lot of people will push it off. Also, it could just be financial. When's a good time to spend tons of money? Never. But then it ends up costing more.
The booking tickets, I think, is a given. If you do it well in advance.
Of course, but I'm just trying to show how there are industries that are built on our inability. The other 80%, the inability to book tickets.
Do you create this system around finances?
What do you mean?
I'm not sure actually what I mean.
It sounds really clever, but I totally didn't get it.
Like the principles here being applicable to finances, where it's like you're saying like the 80 versus 20% of
That will be
travel
robust.
expenses.
That will be robust. That will be robust across the board to everything. You can never listen to me on finances right now, so I will not allow myself to teach
It's
you
big
anything.
in finances.
Pardon?
The 80-20 rule is big in finances.
Well, it was created by an economist, so I guess it's a big one. I will not give you any financial advice, sir. yes, I'm going to start using a travel agent. And that was born out of, why did I just waste 45 minutes? That was so stupid. Okay, stop. Let's find out a name of someone's travel agent. Also, what I do a lot of, I really try not, no one ran away. We're okay. We're still good. Also, what I try and do, I really try not to make too many decisions. I'm not a perfectionistic person, so I'm really lucky. Like, I just don't care too much because it's just, so much is going on. How can I really care? But what I do is I'll ask clever friends. Like, I've got a friend who's really, really green. So any like crunchy granola questions I have, go to her. Another friend that's really exact. Any questions, I'll go to her. Like, I really lean on other people because if it's good enough for them, it's good enough for me, for sure. Very, very good at writing down to-do lists. Like, I think that's probably, like, if I could sell one, well, that and the virtual assistant, because the virtual assistant eliminates the need to do the list at all, because it's done. So in terms of task management, that's what I do very well. I don't keep anything in my head. There's nothing in my head. When I go to sleep at night, my head is completely empty. Completely empty. Because you know what
Tell
it
us
is.
more.
Okay. Okay.
Couldn't you also just write it down?
Yeah, I write it
To do
down.
things?
Yeah. Task management. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm
So it's not that you just give it to your virtual assistant. It's
No, I wish I gave her everything. I certainly don't. But
But it's on paper.
it's on paper. It's when something comes to me, it's either voice noted for somebody else to make it just go away, or it's task management written down. And by keeping nothing in my head, it's not in my head. See, what happens is our brains don't work in a logical way. Like, oh, I have to call back this client, okay? If you say that to yourself as you're walking somewhere, it means nothing. Your brain isn't going to say phone the client. It's just going to go. Because what's going to happen is something's going to come at you. You're going to see someone, your phone's going to ring, you're going to get an email, life's going to happen. And then when's the logical time, or the illogical time that you remember? 3 o'clock in the morning. So that's another reason to act on everything, write everything down right away. Because you have no other choice.
Do you have like
Yes.
lists for the days, like throughout the week when you think about something, you're like, that goes for Tuesday, that goes for Thursday, versus like a list
So
of like
here-
5 for
Right, so here's the, okay, so I'm going to if we're done with practicalizing, I'll segue into the task management system that I use that I really, really love. Okay, do you want to segue in? Or we're doing good for time. No, we're doing good for time. You want to segue into task management? Okay. So this is the planner that I made. This is this device that I made. I hope you appreciate the irony that it's out of print right now. That's how it goes. Okay, so pull out a double sheet. I actually want a double sheet also so I can teach from it.
You could share this
Oh,
one.
thanks. Oh, but I don't want you to. I want you to write. No, I want you to write. Thank you.
This is what your plan looks like?
This is exactly what my planner looks like.
Or it's a platter?
Yeah, it's a planner, but this is fine for right now. Here, I'm sure there's some more right here. And there is not.
Okay, did you design this?
I designed it based out of my own need. Okay, so here's the cool thing. So actually take your pens. No one's going to be graded. No, it's just a really robust system. So actually, let me tell you about it first. Move your waters away. What was happening with me was that I couldn't do everything I wanted to do because I couldn't separate all the different parts of my responsibilities enough that when I had an hour to get stuff done, I didn't even know who I was. You know, am I the business owner where I want to do advertising? Do I want to follow up? Do I want to, who am I? What am I? It was like what I would just do was I would just kind of like sit there, just like not sure what to do. So then what I did is I created this. What I do is I divide my brain into 6 different categories. Okay, there's not a magic number. It just, we all wear so many different hats. We're not just one person. If you can fit into 3 categories, yeah, you. Okay, that might just mean you're younger than me. The rest is yet to come. So I would divide up into the different areas. So I would have, what I actually do is I have 2 sheets per week. I do one for the family and one for the Chabad house and the business. So there's just a lot of different pieces. So for example, I'm going to give you the business example. No, I want you to look at it. I can, it's like
You're saying you have 6 for your family and 6 for the Chabad.
exactly. Oh, I actually 3 for the Chabad house, 3 for the business.
Yeah.
So it's like a double side. It's yes. Chabad house, business. Like you get 3 and 3, but 6 for the family. So I'm gonna.
Family and 3 for business and 3 for house.
So let me go through how it would work with a business. I'm going to do all 6 for a business, okay? So, I'll do family first, just so you can see a very, very simple example, and then we'll do business. So family would go, the way I do it, I have one special needs son, so he gets the most, he gets the whole column. So that's the first. Then I have my boys, then I have my girls. Then I go on to systems for the home, and then I do, like right now I'm planning my daughter's bas mitzvah, so it's bas mitzvah, and then my parents. Okay, so that's family. So how do I actionize it? I sit down on Motzei Shabbos, and I just clear my head. That alone, even if I was to lose this during the week, would be worth everything. Just kind of categorizing it. There's something just therapeutic about just seeing all that's on our head. Yeah. So you write it all down. I'll look at the week before, I'll see what I didn't get to, or bring things over. Write it all on the top. Okay, so the top segment is just for making the list. Okay, new shoes, dentist appointment, all the stuff. It's not even that exciting. Okay?
Not necessarily day by day, just
Not
whatever it is.
exactly. It is not day by day. This is just a cleanse. Because what's the worst thing to do? I'm going to keep everything in my head. And then we think it's like a little sorting box, like that at a certain point the orange circle will fit into the orange. It doesn't work like that.
That's not the woman's brain.
That's not the woman's brain. Not the woman's brain. So we write it all down. Writing it down is already it's joyous. Okay? Now let's do it for businesses. Okay? So let's do some stuff that comes up. So some people have to do schoolwork. Okay? You've got schoolwork. You have studying. So it would be test, upcoming exam, okay? It would be a midterm paper that you have due. And you would write it on top, and then you'd say, but I can't break it down. This is just impossible. Then you'd say, hold on. What if you were to write 30 minutes work? Write literally 30 minutes work. Or you would write research title, find references. Or you would say 30 minutes, whatever it is.
Going through the DSM.
Right, exactly. Highlighting the DSM, buying a DSM. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
Boy.
but you know what I'm saying? It's sitting in the closet.
Put it right next to my does.
You know what it is? Oh, it's like, you can be specific. 30 minutes of highlighting. YouTube DSM videos or whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? DSM mnemonics or whatever it is. And then what's funny is when we micro focus, we can write things. It's like, ooh, that's an idea, because we're not scared about actionizing it. We're just writing it down. Okay. Other things, supplies. Let's just say, you might say, I'm going to just set up that Amazon systems once and for all. I'm going to make a list of all the supplies we need. So that would be just for this week. You would order supplies, other business things, PR. What do I even do with PR? Write it down. Just write it down. Other stuff, networking. I hate networking. I hate people. Write it down. Whatever it is, it is not a wish list. This is an action list. But all the things that you want to be doing, your future self is doing. Write them down. Just give me some other examples. Maybe you have to do stuff like go set up a bank account. Do this, like the boring stuff, bookkeeping. The automation, you really want to get your bills on automating, but it takes so much time and so much energy, but you'll be free. Write it down, okay? Write it all down, flesh it all out. It shouldn't be stressful. Some people say, I hate writing it because I hate seeing all that I have to do. But this is the thing. Either you have it in your head bouncing around, or you have have it on paper when you have a better chance of actionizing it. It's not like it's nowhere or it's here. It's in here anyway. Then the magic happens. Then, and we're going to all do this in a second, then what's going to happen? Once you have your section, you're going to say, okay, for Sunday, okay, what are the items that I'm going to get done ahead? What am I going to do? And you're going to look at your list and you're going to say, is there any science I can apply here? Ooh, yes, there is. I've got the 80-20. I know that my stress is coming from 20% of this. So I'm going to cherry pick the areas that are giving me the most stress and I'm going to write them on the list. And the items that are the most stressful, I'm going to write on the top 3 lines. Okay? So you're going to cherry pick from all 6 areas. Okay? You're going to be all over the place, but what you're doing is you're mixing and matching your 20% of the stress. And, oh, I'll be so happy when that's done. So happy when that's done. Okay? And you write it down here. Okay? Then you leave it. And on Sunday, you don't plan the whole week. You really don't. On Sunday, you just look at that column and you know those 8-10 things you want to get done. You look at the first one, you do it, cross it off. Every item should be about 20 minutes. Don't give yourself a whole massive thing. Some tasks, the same task has 5 different 20-minute things. And you might just get to 4 of them. Or you might say, on Sunday, I'll do 3 items and that's it. Everyone's so different. You're going to cross them off. Then what happens during the day, instead of being your manager and you're like, well, maybe I'll do this. Now you're a worker. You've pre-decided. You don't have wiggle room. You are a worker now. There's no decision. There's no, fancy business owner. Get to work, because you know what? The same way when you work out and you get fit, when you work out on your time management, you get ahead of your time. You go through it. You must cross it out. You must, because neurolinguistically, it does something. From the writing to the crossing out, don't do this on an app. If you're really young and your brain is already just like redone, but there's something so lovely about crossing things off. You only get to 3 things, no problem. As you close your day early, 5 o'clock, set your timer, your alarm to go off every day at 5 o'clock. Again, check through your list. You'll add things to it. Go through, plan for the next day. Don't plan for the same day, because you're going to be much more brutal if you're planning tomorrow. Why? Because you don't have a relationship with your tomorrow self yet. You have a relationship with yourself. You're overwhelmed, your back hurts, you haven't got enough time, you're going to be way too nice. For tomorrow, you can write this all out. And the next day, go through. What's at the top gets done first. Cross it out.
I didn't quite get it. You're saying after 5 p.m. you couldn't plan for the next
Absolutely.
week? Only after 5 p.m.
Oh, you can do it whenever you want.
And you're
but I'm just
saying,
saying, yes.
Yeah.
There's one woman.
Once you've done your list.
One woman who came to the talk last night, and she decided that she's going to do all of her tasks between 9 and 10 in the morning, because she gets so stressed with Parkinson's paradox at 9 to 10. And at 10 o'clock, she's going to plan for the next day and close out the book. Done. And then anything else that came at her would come at her, but it wouldn't be from the inside out, it would be from the outside in. Stuff's still going to be busy, but it's not that task management. Women lead such it's like just so, it's not binary, it's not simple. Our job is to try and make it as simple as possible. Yes,
So you're saying that 20% of stress, you're putting like 3 tasks a day of the 20% that is causing you stress, and the rest is just stuff that doesn't stress you but you need to get done.
Or I would say a little more. I would say look first for the big stress stuff, because the belief is less stress, happier life. Less stress, more me that I'm bringing into the business. Less stress, more happiness. It's just like stress just isn't fun. So, but yes, there's also boring stuff that if I don't take care of this week will become stress next week. But by identifying ahead and exit like that, have you ever had a friend that loses weight and you're like, what did you do? She's like, I just ate less. And you're like, oh. It's like this. How do you get ahead of your time? How do you make more time? How are you more proficient at task management? Plan ahead, get it done. And it's like, oh, I hate that. But that really is the nuts and bolts.
Seriously.
I know. It's like that's what I paid money to hear. Really, But it's like that's really what it is. Identify it, either outsource it or take care of it. You know, and if you might say, well, I have a receptionist or I have an assistant. That's a whole thing, managing your staff. As your businesses grow, you will have to manage staff, but the very best way is to manage yourself. When you've managed yourself, then you know how to manage somebody else better. You know? So any questions on this before we get practical?
So you're saying before you get a virtual assistant, you really have to know.
No, virtual assistant knows more than you. You can outsource to someone. Before you get an employee in your business, non-virtual, just a real person, you have to know how your business runs on the back end to be able to have somebody else do it for you.
You said that again.
Yes, a virtual assistant. Okay, the way I use a virtual assistant is she's better than me at organization and she's just great at getting stuff done. I don't have to teach her stuff. She just makes it go away. An employee would require more, you know, I want you to be in charge of the supplies, I want you to automate it. Well, how do I do that? Then you'd have to create a systemized way of running your business for somebody to follow. Do you know what I'm
And the
saying?
virtual assistant, she creates a system that works.
She does.
Make
If
it
you're
happen,
a
and you don't have to be involved in it.
Exactly. I know you, I don't know you. I trust you. I don't need to micromanage this. Just make it go away. You're paying money to make it go away. Yeah, how do you do it? You know, just make it go away. So, let's roll up our sleeves. Okay, so now what we're going to do, and I'm not checking, but I would like to help you with identifying areas. I'm trying.
We're always talking about who's needing an assistant. Who's needing an assistant? Like, someone just do it. Just do it. Just do it. We don't want, okay, we just want
Make
to
it go away.
with people. We don't have to do
Good.
it.
But at the end
That's
of
the
the
way.
day, but at the end of the day, in a business, you do kind of need to train the person into like what you need them to do.
If you
So
need.
I'll be your assistant, what do you have to do? I'll take care of the bills. It's like major business.
So it's basically anything that doesn't have to do with the client.
Anything that doesn't need your personal fingerprint on, get rid of. Like, this is like this. If you were to travel and you would employ a travel agent, you wouldn't say, oh, but listen, first this is what I want you to do. Find the best web. You'd be like, just get me the best deal. You know, or you'll be like, get me first class to Australia. I don't care if I have to go through Zimbabwe, just get me there. You'd give a specific, these are my criteria. You know, when I leave a message, I'll say, could you research this time budget is 20 minutes. You know, otherwise it could take 3 hours. I'm like, no, I didn't care that much about that, you know. But no, I think you guys should consider, you know. So just do the stuff that you're in charge of. You know, yes, if they're dealing with your clients, but for clients, you can get software now where they can make appointments. And I actually had my virtual assistant research it for me, but I never got back to reading what she did the research. But I know it's in my WhatsApp thread somewhere, which is there's I could forward it to you. I haven't read it, but it's a way that you fill in when you're available. People go on the website and they can click in when they want. You know.
Right. A lot of our, I mean, no one minds me asking customized questions, but
I do want customized questions.
okay. So
It's the best.
for instance,
But just remember we're being recorded, so
the
don't
work,
say anything.
yeah, the work we do is more holistic, a little bit that many people haven't heard of yet. So we need
Right.
to
Oh,
get on the phone
yes,
to talk to
yes.
one of us.
Yeah, but that does need your personal.
It does need a person.
Yes. Or you could create an infomercial explaining what you do with your frequently asked questions. There's always an end. You know, once you've identified the what, there's always an end. You know, it doesn't have to be, hire a full-time employee, or it's on us. Once you've identified the areas, you can always work out ways around it, because you might say, no, it has to be from us because we're going to be providing the care and they have so many questions. Or you can say, you know, you can even train people, you know, with a message on your phone. Thank you so much for calling. You know, if you call between 9 and 10 on Fridays, we'll be answering our phones to answer all your questions. Now you might say, we're going to lose 20% of clients then, you know, or leave your number and we'll call you back during that time. You know, it's difficult because remember the whole robot museum thing? And you're doing such a holistic practice, you want to find a way to synthesize what you do and what you love to do together with clever systems. So it might be more on a case to case, on case by case. But I've seen, like with a swimming school in Florida that my son goes to, and I was listening to them initiate with new clients, the phone calls, because it's a very specialized swimming school. They just do 10-minute sessions a day, and they were explaining it. And I saw how she wasn't doing such a good job, and people were like not taking the bait. I could see you want the person, you want the provider. So it might be something like, thank you so much for your call. We're happy to say, we're busy helping other clients. We've created a video to explain what we do. And if you have any further questions, please call us. You know what I'm saying? But you can't make hurdles. Like, you know how you always learn from everyone? So insurance companies are evil. And they create hurdles. If you want extra services, like please fax and send a written letter. What do they know? They know that X% of people are going to fall. So we don't want your future clients, which is the lifeblood of your business, to be like, please email us. We don't have email. Please call us. Then I'm not going to remember. So it's going to have to be an and. How do we catch the people? And but that's the fun part of a business, also of creating really clever systems. Okay, so now the fun part. Yeah, I'm already in there for my daughter. I've been looking for years. And I'm hiring them already. I don't even have to ask any questions. Totally. So now what I want you to do is come up with categories. Okay, so don't do categories for your. Do your stuff that you do. Okay, so you don't have to write down what you do, but you might have I don't know, phone calls to return. I don't know your businesses well enough to know the stuff. But even if you just fill 3 in, what are you responsible for? Did you know that one?
I did this right at the beginning. I don't know if this is what you're saying, but play therapy, learning the DSM, doing my work, which is like a full-time job.
Right.
But part of the job is I have 2 hats. I do single trips.
Nice.
Okay. Then I want to do the self-care and the exercise, and I want to make time to, like, I used to belong to a food co-op, and I want to not rejoin, but go back to it so that I can get better quality food.
So that's lovely. So here.
But that takes time because once a month I have food. I don't want to. That's my template.
That's the sterile one.
Yeah.
Think how it's fun.
Thick ones.
Yeah. I want you to do it because then you won't be scared to do it at home. And these are Xeroxable. So.
So am I on the right track?
Absolutely.
Like, these are the
Absolutely. You just have to make it into 6. So maybe do the self-care and the exercise together.
Okay.
So what makes it 3 columns versus 6 if it doesn't have to be categorized? It's just
No,
lists?
you're categorizing.
I'm
it.
categorized.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's the same way I did like one son, girls, boys, or business, phone calls, website update, website update.
So the focus items are just things that have to get done.
The different hats.
And that doesn't have to be categorized. It's just like a list of like everything.
Yes, make your
categories.
categories. Yeah, do that, and then you're gonna say, what about if I'm walking down Kingston and I get an idea, but my papers are at home? You're gonna on Google Keep, which everyone should be familiar with. Google Keep, it's really good, easy software. It's just Google, so it's simple. You know how like Rashi says here, like only explains things that a 5-year-old, like Google is created for a 5-year-old. So Google Keep has a really clever user interface where you can just write things down. So I always have on the go, just like Focus Finder items, and it just add it in. I'll find, just so that you don't lose it. Remember, the more busy we are, it's like seeing like a beautiful red bird fly by. If you don't take a photo right there and then, you might never see it again.
So is this better than emailing yourself? Because I'll email myself.
And email yourself to whatever works. We never change a system that works.
So Google Keep is before you even get to this.
No, Google Keep's an and. Google Keep's just so you remember stuff on the way.
And then you take from there and you categorize.
Exactly. So just think, even if you're doing, your business might be so hands-on that really you've just got a few categories because most of your 80% of your stuff goes into just hands-on work. But try and think of the areas. Where's the stress? Where, try and put it down. And then you can just start. It will take time to just like let it all flow.
Here we're categorizing the 20% stress of the 80% of the.
Here no, make it simpler. Just categorize it.
Okay.
Make it simple.
And will you email us?
Yes, I'll email you on. But you have to email me for mine. But Rabbi Wording has it also. Doesn't end. I really am a big believer in ends because I think it takes the stress away. You know, I forgot that and I have another one. You know? It should be a little bit painful. Like, I don't want to see what I have to do. Make it go away.
So you make me rethink all my practice.
That's the idea.
Oh, okay.
Because we're normally so busy helping others, we don't think about helping ourselves. We just get
yeah,
things
and
done.
I realize and there are things like you said, just
course.
you did work and then now you
If
sit.
it was just our business and that was it, but we have so much more in our life that we just have to
also I
stream.
can delegate certain things. Because even payment, I done why and what people it's more about figures, not like
I get it.
yes, you know, it's not like I can say whatever. I used to send them it didn't work. You said you
What
just
did you do?
psychologist. So you have to be very private and if people
Yeah,
can't,
it's
you don't
true.
you wanna know it's relationship. So you wanna be very sensitive who they are, where they are. You can't send them.
Right.
As we was like you said, you can't. It's not
Yeah.
the payment, it's really a whole relationship. Especially if you really it's not like walk with me 2-3 times, it's a whole they trust me. Yeah, a long time, they trust me, sometimes then, husband, the kids. So it's very hard to then, as I'm hearing her, to manage the business part. I mean, I do one thing, a banker, maybe that's helped at that time, told me put everything on credit card. I say, what? She said, yeah, because that check that the husband's going to send you by the time she gives birth, maybe it went from Switzerland to, and then your business is really, you want to keep it flowing. So, for instance, automating, putting things on credit card that time was
That is very clever.
very amazing. That really
Yeah.
brought a lot to myself. But again, there was the resistance. I can't do it. Ask people for credit card, man.
But we all have weak
You have
spots.
to relearn
Yeah.
new ways.
Right.
And then you realize
Right.
actually people love it. Women love it. They don't have to rely on
Mm-hmm.
this one and that one. So there are a lot of things that something I was going to ask you is about risk. I found out for me, change and risk to take new things. We have to work
Very
about
hard.
that.
Very, very hard.
First the risk, and then it's easy for me to do.
Well, that's normally when somebody reaches a point where they're like, I can't. This is ridiculous. Then they're ready. The same
Right.
level of stress is going to translate. Like, you know what? I'm just going to try this. You know, it's like who would try wheatgrass if they weren't desperate? You don't do it out of choice. You know, like it's horrific, but there's
No,
a
but it's
reason.
amazing.
So you have to reach a point of like, this is insanity.
Also to be open, like you said. I mean,
We're
it's
not.
crazy,
We aren't open. Women are stubborn and amazing and multitasking.
Very,
As long as
very.
we can do it, we won't write things down. I resisted for years having a cleaning help. I can do this. You know, like we are so talented and we're as stubborn as we are talented. So yeah, you need to reach a point where you're like, this is not working.
Right, the main thing that you said took years to know. You have to go sleep at night, and Wednesday I'm
You have to
like,
shut
I have
off.
half a
Yeah.
day where I don't take any clients.
Yeah.
I learned it for my clients. Your doctor, I don't take. So if someone needs me, I have to. Whatever, even client, I learned to create spaces. At
Yeah.
the beginning, I
Because
spent
no one's gonna
24 hours.
no
7
one's
days a
gonna
week.
give it
Sits.
to us. Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
It took a long time to really say.
And probably some mistakes also. Just
A
like this is
lot.
crazy. And
Lot.
right, so then do we take that craziness and
Especially
replicate
when you
it?
care about finance, but then you have to create a system.
Yeah.
You have to be on time, and then it saves the business in a way. Then you can do what you like the most is the work.
Of course, that's
That's right. With
Outsource.
Ava. And then it's very interesting. What do you do?
Let me explain what
I
she
missed
does.
the beginning.
She
sorry.
is in what's it called, residential.
Residential management with a dual focus on childcare and geriatrics.
And
Wow.
she has a home business, a home, and she
Wow.
she runs her home, and she takes care of her parents, and she runs an organisation. That's all. Apart from that, she's really quite lazy. Community. Oh, gosh, But wait, we didn't address your preparation of your teaching.
But I teach.
We didn't address an issue.
I know.
We are not leaving here. Okay.
I am leaving because
But I
said
do
that
know-
every
thought she
student-
was last weekend.
But do you know what a compliment it is when people fall asleep in my class? Like, I love it that women sleep. It makes me so happy. Like, you'll get the recording. Who cares? Just go to sleep.
Is you so
Wait, hold on.
comfortable.
Hold on. When are you going to do your preparation? On a fixed time every week, or once a month? Like, you can't have it hanging over you. I will not let you leave, and then you can go.
So that's the challenge.
No, we're gonna solve it. You're not walking out of the
Because-
challenge.
Does it, the only time I see I could do it is when the day is over at 9 o'clock at night. I can sit down and do it. Monday and Wednesday I teach.
What time?
I teach in the afternoons and I teach. in the
What do you do
mornings.
right after you finish actually physically teaching?
I come home and make something.
What if you were to make dinner in the morning and then stay an extra hour in school to prepare for the night? Because I think if you're in the house, I've lost you. Like, you're not going to prepare.
So there is one, Tuesdays I do have time in school to prepare because I sit with another teacher.
I am
So we
liking
have a
this.
session.
Okay.
But I have to teach Wednesday, Thursday, so I still need to do more.
Could you
at
make
home.
that?
I could probably, Wednesday, I could probably be in school. I could probably get to school earlier than the class so that I could use that time.
I think your
Maybe
preparation.
Push myself,
I think your
to get to
preparation
school.
isn't going to be done in the house.
push myself to get to school so I have to.
Go early and leave late, so that and dinner you can preset. I very often I'm out all day. I'll preset
Do
every
that
dinner.
around my dinner prep.
Yeah, do that
So
because
it's more prep in advance.
yeah, do that. Or something like chicken and sweet potatoes. You can preset in the oven. It goes off. The most basic of oven does that. And then that way you go in early and you leave late. You always have preparation time there because when you get home, that job is higher paying. So you're always going to take care of the home. Do you know what I'm saying? It yields so much more. All right, you can go.
Can you talk a little bit about that? Like how you think
It's
in
yours.
terms of the,
Pardon?
can you talk more about that? Like how you would, that kind of example, like with the space you're putting yourself in versus like you said, like the higher yielding. Like, can you talk more about
Give
how
me a
you think?
specific issue. Okay, but let me
No,
just give
like
her as a case
home
study.
versus-
Case
yeah.
study, because her love is her family,
Mm-hmm.
and because her mother's work is never done, the minute she goes into that house, she's not a teacher. She doesn't even know she teaches.
But then
So
I have to
when-
call parents.
But that's okay, because that you'll get done.
Thank you very much.
I go to cannabis, but I don't know what it is.
You do it, don't worry. The main thing is it happening. No, just write down stuff that has to get done.
In other words, that's the category, now what has to be done.
Yeah, 20-minute increments, yeah.
That's
So let me do her as the example. So because when she steps into the house, so much work to do, she'll not work on homework, on schoolwork until it's the night before, for example. But it causes stress. So what's the trick? To get to school early, that 1 hour she would have done on dinner prep. She now does presets her chicken and sweet potatoes every Wednesday. She gets to school early to prepare. She leaves school later to prepare. Also, why? Because she can only prepare in school. She cannot prepare at home.
So chicken is an oven in the lid.
Oh, I have that. I put ice cream on top. Yeah, it's
Or you can have slow cooker, they do.
yeah. This slow cooker. Yeah, it's hideous. I'm not a good cook. No, it's really fine. It's really fine. But the thing is, I walk in with my kids, and when I'm hungry, I'm not nice.
Yeah.
So it just works. Like leave in the morning, dinner's on, done. So that's how she could leverage time. A lot of women say, I need to make dinner in the afternoon. I say, no. Make it in the morning, have a rest in the afternoon. Go on the couch with a book. That's what we want for you. You work all day, you know? So give me an example of what, like give me something to crack. Give me a code to crack.
You can give an example if you have one on hand. Okay, so we're either, things happen is we're either in the office responding to clients or trying to further our education.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
I gave that overview. Okay, so those three things, and then there's one a strong determination to the social life and to, when one is in the office, the other one is
maybe managing some house or making sure there's a meal that I don't do,
That's it here.
things like that. But there's a lot of like,
And just personal life stuff you just have to
Right.
take care of.
yeah, and then so it almost feels like there's, I mean, like everyone, there's always another thing that's just like on our attention. So
Right.
to be able to, go away on vacation is like the next, we're living from vacation to vacation.
You don't
in a
want
way.
to do that, right? You don't want to be living like that.
So
Right, so then what it is, probably you need a bunch of boring systems to set you free. So that Monday night, I would say defrost the chicken, because I'm thinking like a manly person. Monday night, pick up the chicken. Oh, we're putting it in the oven Tuesday morning. This is so boring. I cannot believe this is what our life has come to. However, when you walk in Tuesday night, dinner's ready. Or Wednesday, let's just get takeout so that we don't have to waste that. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a system, but you kind of have a meal plan. Why? Because you want to be boring? No, because you want to be free.
Right, so if there are things that we have to be the one personally doing for clients,
Such as...
like speaking to them directly or reviewing certain things that, like,
Mhm.
it's all directly related to,
Yes, that you can't
to their
outsource.
information, we
Yeah.
can't outsource that.
Right.
So,
You could have the appointment reminders automated. I work with a doctor's office on having there's this phone system you can have automated, like please text Y to confirm,
we
please.
tell our clients we don't remind. Like
Love.
you don't
This
even
is New
remind.
York. It's New York. You don't get a
We
reminder.
don't remind you. You're
They don't
confirmed.
remind
You're
you?
confirmed.
no. People ask sometimes, but we just don't offer
We
that,
say it
so
doesn't.
it's like, it's up to you to.
It'd be a breakthrough if you
So
offer
New
that,
York.
everybody will
That
come
is
to
so
you.
New York. I love it. So now, so let's do more of those systems. That's genius. Reviewing your clients, what you might want to do is before you leave the office, wrap up. Like pull out the files for the next day. I know I'm seeing this one, just review this, just leave it on your desk and you go. Like that's just the wrapping up of the day. Is there anything here that's in my mind that can go in the focus finder? Leave the focus finder, leave the sheets on your desk, leave it in work. Is there anything else? You want to try and get to the place where your workers, when you're at work, and your people outside. Almost to the extent that you would like call your work number and be like, or send to a work email, add this and this to so and so's file. So it's not. Don't take the positive part of technology. Like become a little more old-fashioned. Here I'm an employee. Here I'm a person.
So when you were saying, on your chart that you then like become a worker, what's like the psychological shift?
I'll
that
tell
you're
you
going
very
through?
clearly. I'll give you the research. So
Okay.
there was really clever, cute research done on millennials who were not. This is out there, okay? From people who don't really do retirement funds, but whatever. Just bear with me. So there was research done on college kids that were not putting any. No, not college kids. Millennials, like newly employed people, were not having any interest in putting money in their retirement funds. Okay, so they were doing research. Why are you not interested? And it came out, I don't even know my future self. So what did they do? They made an app. They took these little 25-year-old children and aged them till they were 85. So they aged everybody 85 years, and they were like, they had an app where it was like their present self and their 85-year-old self. And every time they put so they didn't have the latte, they put the $5 in there, the 85-year-old person was like, thanks. So they had this way of getting to know their future self. It's so smart. So how did I apply this to this? Is that my Monday self doesn't even know my Tuesday self. I'm going to be brutal. I'm going to give her so much to do. Because by Tuesday I'm like, oh, But if I have this list preset, now my job is just to get it done. But I'm going to be more brutal on giving myself more tasks than like, oh, you have a rough client, you this. Be tough. We work hard. All we're doing is working hard and stressing less. We're just changing the dynamics. So that's what it is just being less, what's like normally like, oh, don't worry, had a bad night's sleep.
This is really good. So then you take all of this and then you just put it in one column.
It's the only
So
way
this
that I
is
manage my
really
tasks.
beautiful.
Only
We
way.
don't put all of it in one column.
So nice.
Some
It's
of
like
it
you're
for
gonna
one
cherry
column.
pick.
Cherry pick.
Yeah, but it's nice. Like
Putting like
here you're
all
like, oh,
20%
and you
on
look
a
at this
Sunday,
thing.
Of the stress?
You know what I'm saying?
You're gonna
I mean, I
tick
know
the
myself,
things that will really get you ahead for the week. Put it someday, cross it off, think about
Like
it,
you
push it,
writing
and
it,
do it.
you're already
So
integrated
all
in
of
your
these
life.
are here.
But just
You
do it on
know,
a
but what
day-to-day
if- what if
basis,
a
because
lot of
also you
these
might surprise
things
yourself and do some extra
are
things, some things
daily
go
things.
away, like you.
Okay, so
I don't
self-care
believe
is
in that
daily.
like robot, like I'm gonna plan my entire week, and it's like,
Work is daily.
it's too much, like we don't live like that, that's not reality.
So at the beginning, you weren't here and I was talking about she was talking about efficiency, but what about effectiveness?
Don't worry.
You talk about efficiency,
It's not
first,
gonna
you
be
want
fast
that
enough.
again,
Wait,
oh
wait,
boy,
this is
I'll
like
fit the
in
whole
this.
talk. Like what's in, like how do you then take this and, right, cause she's saying like effectiveness is like not, like you want to be efficient and like manage a whole bunch of things within an hour, but they're not getting you effectively to what you want to get
Well, you
to.
okay? I'll give you a
And then just like
yeah, but it's gonna be harder for me now because I'm already done, so my head's like.
sorry.
No, don't worry. There was something. No, she did great. So this was actually very interesting. You'll appreciate this. No. So what I was saying at the beginning of the talk is that what's your first name? Thank you. So she was saying how she really loves to study. Okay. So I gave an example. If she had earmarked 1 hour for studying, okay, it's really important to her, and she has goals, and it's really important for her. So she has an hour, and by accident she left her phone next to her with it on. She knows that is like so shameful. Like you don't ever tell me you do that. You know, that is like taking your time, making into Swiss cheese. Like don't do that. So then I don't even remember my example. It was like, then she gets a text from someone like, oh, can you see me and my daughter tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock? And she's like, oh, great, we can fill that spot. Oh, let me just move that around. Oh, and while I'm anyway, oh, these other people text me. Oh, wait, we're all out of tissues, and you know the whole thing. So in terms of being efficient, wow. Oh, and the plumber for Friday, wow, efficient. She just took care of 6 things. Ooh, the hour's up. What she really wanted to do was do that study. So there's a difference of efficient and effective. So efficient is a little bit like saving money. It's so great to save money, but at what cost? So effective is if you've promised yourself that I'm going to honor my goals to do an hour of studying, I don't care if we lose a client. I don't care if we have no tissues, because this hour on studying is all I have. Now what you might say is, well, where's the end? Why can't you get the virtual assistant to order the tissues? Why can't you have somebody picking up your course? That's great. That's a case study that we can explore on what happened, what falls apart when I focus for an hour. It doesn't have to be, can I make money or study? We can do an and, but for that 1 hour, it's all about studying. And with you, I would pre-decide what I was studying. Because otherwise you'd be like, oh, but I really want to watch that, and I really want to, and it's like, just pre-decide. Effective, efficient. But you can do an and. You can be effective and efficient if you outsource the efficient while you're being effective. Good. Okay, so I think we're going to wrap, just because I think I'm going to start slurring my words soon, and that's just...
So the next step, would be just to cherry
Now,
pick and then
cherry pick, exactly.
One day
One day at a time, cross it off.
And then
Cross it off.
Oh,
Oh,
you
those
were
were just
saying-
cute things.
Oh yeah,
Like
what's
today, I'm planning for tomorrow.
Yes.
I'm only doing
Only
planning
tomorrow.
Oh,
Why? You know
This is
why?
good.
No, this is the
Oh,
only way that works. The
I
even though it might be more efficient to plan out the whole week, it's very soul. You know, it's just like, that's my week. You know, like
exactly.
do it, and also things change. That's like, we're not robots, we're people. You know.
And that's what the bottom. Sorry, I didn't.
Oh, the bottom is just. I need to look at it. I don't.
Here.
This is a new updated version. I didn't even really look at. So some people really, I got to think, because this is just task management. It's not about your dentist appointment. It's not about anything. So some people were like, I really want to have my calendar, and I was like, nope. It's just about task management. So I at least was nice and let people put the dates. They could just circle the month and the day. At the bottom.
What do you
That
do?
what? That what?
No, because some people just were like, I really need to know what date it is. Like if they feel very ungrounded without knowing
So
the
you
date.
circle.
So you circle the date if you want.
Calendar date of like
It's
Sunday
just, it
and-
was just my token niceness to people that wanted extra pages that had calendars, and I was like,
What was
Yeah.
23?
I don't care about your dentist appointment.
So all your life appointments are on a separate calendar.
Yes.
And
this is
like
task
within the time
management.
frame that you've created for yourself.
Exactly. This is your brain. This is your brain. And if people don't get it out of their heads, that's when we don't sleep and we don't shut off.
And then do you have a place where you actually plan your day time-wise? So like you
Yes,
have,
I do. So I have it in Google Calendar. And then the night before, I'll look through things. A virtual assistant can confirm the appointments, or, oh no, you don't have that. Wonderful. You know, it's just a way of being ahead. Or on a Motzi Shabbos or a Sunday, I'll look to the whole week ahead. Like, oh, what do I need for that? What do I need for this? You know.
in terms of payment, receiving payment, do you, I've been recommended to do this, I don't like the idea of people going online, scheduling themselves, prepaying. It feels so impersonal.
Yeah, I would do that perhaps when I would do an end. I would do that once you have a steady client and you've had them, let's say, 3 times. You could ask them, say, we have this service available, would you be comfortable?
But why is it helpful when some people do it?
Because you're such a people-based business.
Yeah.
Like if you were Starbucks, like if you don't like it, don't come back. But because you're such a people-based business, that some people are just funny. And we're all sensitive.
They want connection.
And some people will be like, but I really, or they might say, I really appreciate, I'd rather just pay you cash. Oh, no problem. No problem. It's nice just to offer, because we can't be extreme. We can't be extreme in a people business. If you were something less people-centric, you could. So that's why you want to synthesize and you ask. And it's sometimes people really appreciate being asked. And they're like, yeah, I can take care of it. Or, you know, or what if I forget? You know? Also, I have my billing outsourced. My assistant takes care of the billing because I'm really, really bad at billing people. It's yours.
So
You know.
how does that work? Because do you have bookings online?
I
And then
didn't
she
do it yet. 'Cause I didn't read her email. I didn't read her information that she
Oh,
researched for me.
Right.
But
So how does she do the billing?
so I'll just voice note her and be like, could you please bill so and so for that, and then she takes care of it. She knows to follow up, and it's not.
So you're literally messaging her all day.
Oh, the poor woman. Yeah, you should feel bad for her. But she's,
then-
and then she just takes care of it all. But when she began working for me 3 years ago, I used to sit on a Sunday and do email and email her a Google document for the week. But thank God with technology now, the same WhatsApp that drives me crazy, I can actually use for my advantage. Because until I sit down at the computer, I'm not going to remember all the things. You know, but I did tell her, do not listen to my voice notes all day. Like, give yourself a slot, whether it's my slot, and just like there'll be 100 waiting for you. Because I felt horrible. Like, you can't do that to someone. It's all food for thought, but it's like taking a few things, and then what's going to be really cool, the next time you make a mistake, you'll be like, I just need a better system. You know, I'm not an idiot, you know?
So that's interesting. She's a virtual assistant, but she only listens to all your voice notes.
Well, she breaks my rules, she listens to me all day, but I told her, like, give me 2 hours, just sit, and don't make me take over your life, you know?
Because you're always paying for it.
No, she bills. No, I don't pay her. I bill her. She bills me based on how much work. And then she pays herself. Sometimes it's late. Right? But it's just, you know what I'm saying? Like, I can tell someone I really don't want you to spend all day. I feel horrible. But then if she chooses, that's how she does it. It's not like,
But you can say, I want to pay you for like 5 hours or like
oh no, the billing she
10
just,
hours a week.
Yeah.
She figures it out.
absolutely. But or she at this point she knows, like, just do it, get it done.
And does she a bookkeeper also? Like
She does, yeah, all the bits, but she's not really a bookkeeper. Like, I think for a proper, like, I'm more of like a consultant, so it's key clients, and it's not as revolving. You're a service-based industry, you would probably need something more robust.
And how did you find her?
She just did some updates on the website for me.
So personally, you had done something.
But I hadn't met her. She lives in Toronto, and I was just like, wow, she's really good. You know, when someone just said, I was like, do you have any more time? She's like, yeah. There's a poor woman, you know. But you know when someone just is smart and attuned and just sensible.
Our sister-in-law's like that. That's how she got her job.
Each branch probably has at least 20
Her
people.
boss had hired her to do something on the website. He's like, 1 second. You'll be my crystals in just a second.
That's what I did. Once you sense that, when you sense someone has that way of thinking, you find someone that's more efficient than you and just does things that you know. And that's like, you copy yourself. Yeah.
inspiration.
Thank you. I really want to find out more. Okay, so
How do I turn this off?
I want my daughters to meet you.
How do I turn this off?
Oh,
Maybe
but I've already.
things with the kids and the mother could. No, honestly, we should.
So, like I said, I don't have a business card with me now, but I can use my phone number.
I hope you won't answer my phone. I hope it'll be automated by then. No, I just want her to come. I just want her to. Basically, I think like waiting to pick you up. Oh, that's my daughter. Oh, maybe hold on. Let her. I'm gonna.
What's
Do you mind?
that?
I really. Because then if she meets you, then she'll come to the session. Wait.
I do not see any on or off button on this thing.
Thank you very much.
Do you want to let it?
We'll just run him until we just have to contact later.
Yeah, Celestine. I just moved here not too long ago. It's such a funny person. Nice video. I like your thoughts. No, because it's interesting. Every person has. This is a great thing. I was going to ask.
There's no button.
I'm doing my leg.
He'll do it.
Yeah, he should just cut it.